Well, welcome to another War Game review from theplayersaid.com. I'm Grant.
I'm Alexander.
We actually, this weekend, we're kind of doing a marathon wargaming. Alexander's wife is out of town.
That's why.
And my wife reluctantly agreed to allow us to come together. In fact, this is Friday night, and this is game number 2 of what I would hope would be 5 or 6 games by the end of tomorrow evening. We're just trying to get a lot of games played, a lot of different types of games, and put some time in so that we can put some stuff on the blog. So today we tried out White Star Rising. It's Nations at War from Lock and Load Publishing. This is a second edition game of a game originally designed in 2010. The lead designer at that time was Mark Holt Walker, with the current designer Sean. Where did the name go? It's on the back of the box.
I don't want to butcher it.
Yeah, I apologize. Sean Drulinger. So Sean worked with Mark Holt Walker on I think it was a 2010 first edition of this game. And now they've come out with a second edition last year in 2016 of White Star Rising, and Sean is the lead designer. So if you don't know, Mark Holt Walker has created his own company called Flying Pig Games. He's created a very similar feeling game called Old School Tactical. Alexander and I have played Volume 1, which is the Eastern Front, 1941, 1942, Soviets versus Germans. That is a combined arm games. We really enjoyed that.
Yes.
We played a couple scenarios last year. Really enjoyed the system. Felt like it was really brutal. But that was a tactical level game. You were giggling, sorry.
Well, because
it was very
that game
brutal.
is brutal.
I remember we got in a melee and I think 12 guys died, I swear.
That's a bad time.
I'm exaggerating. But so that's a tactical level game. So this game is a little, you kind of went from 5,000 foot view to a platoon level, so maybe 8,000 or 10,000 foot view. A different scale of this game. So not quite tactical, although it is smaller than, say, Battalion or other larger operational level games. This felt kind of tactical, but you weren't so much mired down in the details of movement. I think that was one thing in Old School Tactical I struggled with, was the movement of the different vehicles, the bogging down in different terrains. So here we didn't have that. So it just feels different. Once again, platoon level, so it is a different scale. But this is a small combined arms. We had infantry in this. We had mechanized infantry.
Anti-tank
guns, a Sherman tank.
There's a lot of stuff.
And this is just an introductory scenario where we were trying to learn the system. Really, the system or the scenario focused on movement, fire and move and fire, range for artillery, command radius, and those kinds of things. So the game is based on, you do have headquarter units, and in this scenario, we only had one headquarter apiece. I'm sure in some of the other scenarios, you'll have different formations with different headquarter units. It is a chit pull system. So I think we had 4 chits put in the cup, 1 each for our activations for our units, and then there were 2 intern chits that were thrown in the cup. We then drew those out and played. Kind of some interesting rules for that. There were 2 intern chits, and then there was 1 each of our activation chits. So if we ever pulled 2 of the intern chits before either of us had activated our guys, kind of ended that turn and moved the turn track up.
But yeah, and then
there was a rule where you
hang on to the end turn markers until you activate your guys. So you might miss out on activating some of your formations, but you're then guaranteed to activate those formations
the next turn. Right.
So there's some give and take there where it actually negates some of the very random gaminess of doing chip pull with end turn markers that you get in some of those games. So I liked that a lot in the way that they kind of made the rule to get around something stupid happens with the chit pull.
Right, kind of a random thing. And also in this scenario, we only each had one activation chit. In some of the other scenarios, I think
almost
there were
every other one. This guy's got four HQs. This one's got 5.
So the chances of pulling those end round chits before you activate a majority of your units is not going to happen very often. But I like chit pull systems.
I love it. Yeah.
I know we've played. Help me remember some of the ones we've played.
There's
lots.
Too many of them, if anything.
But anyway, obviously chit pull systems, to me, simulate some of the chaos and randomness of what units, what divisions and formations can activate, what platoons can activate.
And so, the Market Garden series from Victory Point Games is one that comes to mind because when you have stacks that are open, it keeps you on your toes, makes it good for solitaire play as well, which I love that. But it's, you can't just sit there and these guys are going to do this. These guys are going to do this.
And know that they're going to do it in a certain order. That doesn't happen.
You pull that shit and you're like, all right,
random.
This is what we're going with, and I'm going to charge forward, and hopefully my other guys can support them. There's some working around that. The chit pull really is I like that as a
and it throws in that randomness, because the reality of a battlefield is there's all kinds of conditions, weather, visibility from whatever it is, smoke, cover smoke that's laid, burning vehicles, dust, debris, all that kind of stuff can end up basically messing with how your units operate. And I think that blind chit system really, to me, simulates that. Obviously, I've never been on a battlefield, but that is a very, in my opinion, very good way of simulating that chaos. So a chit pull system, very simple move and shoot and move, or just move. Not real complex. If you move and shoot or shoot and move, you're going to take a negative on the number of dice you roll. You're also going to increase the number that you hit on. Most of these units, infantry units, were rolling, I think, 2 dice, hitting on 5s normally.
Yeah, around that kind of thing.
Your mechanized infantry, same, 2 dice, hitting on a 5. The Sherman was 3 dice, hitting on 6s. So more dice, not necessarily better hitting odds. Against soft targets, right, or hard targets, it was 3 dice hitting on 4s.
Yeah.
So they were better against tanks and armored units, which makes sense. So really liked that element. I thought that was a very simple way to do it, simple way to handle it, very understandable. We literally read the scenario rule book for about 15 minutes, jumped right in, and were able to pick it up.
And so I feel like I was able to do that because I played a lot of games
similar.
So I played some of Mark Holt Walker's other games. So we played Old School Tactical, 65. They have similar ideas and elements that go into them. Mm-hmm. Some of the different, you have a firepower, a range, and a to hit value. Some of those things, the way the units move, the way they find targets, and the way they apply hits, those are things I'm familiar with from some of his other designs.
Right.
I know the second edition he was not as involved in, but it keeps a lot of that familiarity. So we were able to dive right into this
and pick it up.
And it was the system's very simple. If you've played, whilst this isn't a tactical game, if you've played any tactical games, it has some of the same intuitiveness to it. I do this thing, and the consequences should be that. Oh, and they are.
Right.
Learning this wasn't hard. I thought the rulebook was well put together, decently organized, and it was. We were playing after half hour reading the rules.
Yep. The other thing I liked about and I'll pick up a counter, and there was a defensive dice.
The armor value is this top.
The armor value. So the armor value or defensive dice, they got to roll. If they took hits, let's say they took 2 hits during the combat, they were able to roll a certain amount of dice, needing this one needs a 6, right? 3 dice needing a 6. So if you rolled a couple of 6s, you were going to stave off. Your armor was going to deflect that attack. I thought that was kind of cool because it gave you another opportunity to survive. One thing that I didn't like about this, and it actually carries over, it was my same concern from Old School Tactical. This is very counter heavy. And what I mean by that is there are administrative counters for when something is taking their turn. You know, this is called ops complete. So you have to stack that on top of this unit when he's done firing or moving. You know, then he may get hit. He's going to have a disrupted marker stacked on him. He also may be out of command, and there's going to be an out of command marker. And, you know, you look at these big hams, it's very hard to deal with this. It becomes a little clunky. But I understand why they have those chits. It keeps track of who can and cannot act, keeps track of conditions. These units typically had 3 hits they could take. A disruption, a reduction, and then a kill.
Yeah.
So, you know, once again, that was very similar to Old School Tactical. You had a marker kind of like, you know, having ops completed your turn. You had disruptions, you had wounds, etc. Some of these games, sometimes it just gets too much. We didn't get to deal much with the acquisition of targets.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a neat little thing, and I was kind of interested in that.
Yeah.
And that's something maybe in the other scenarios we'll get involved with.
We just did too many hits. If you miss when you're targeting the tank, you
kind of track it. It's like you use tracer fire.
So we'll move over to the left.
Yeah, we know where it is. This is where you fire.
You have a better chance to hit him next time.
So you place this marker. So once again, that could be another marker. You know, you're putting that on it, and all of a sudden the stack has 2 units in it and about 6 markers, and it just becomes a little unwieldy for me. You can use tweezers, and that will help. That's a nitpicking thing, but I don't know. There's other ways that you could potentially track that, but markers do work well. They show what is moved, what is done, what's over. So, Alexander, what did you really like about the tactical element of this platoon level game?
I enjoyed the game. Thought the system was very clean. You know, it is not overly complex. There aren't a ton of like additional optional rules or anything like that. So you just get into, here's my units, let's fight it out. My units do what they're supposed to do. These, like, the infantry can do this thing, the armor can do this thing, my anti-tank guns does this thing. Everything has its own role, and it's getting those to work together, and then it's using your multiple formations to try and organize a battlefield, you know, with some kind of coherence. So
right.
I enjoy that. I enjoy how expansive the game is. The box is, you know, it's like probably 2-inch box.
It probably has an inch or more available for expansion.
But there's so much in the box.
Oh, it's chock full.
I mean, there's 300 plus counters.
Yeah, there's 4 sheets of counters.
It's crazy. And what I like is
lots of cards.
The scenario book is massive.
I think there's 12 scenarios.
There's a ton in here.
Yep.
But then there's rules for making your own.
Yep.
There's these sheets over here. This is a point-buy system. Assign yourself a number of points.
So you might have 150 points, and you build an army.
And then it's just put some maps together.
Yeah.
Duke it out.
Yep.
I mean, there's so much.
There's a lot to like. There's a lot to like.
And it's, I don't know. I'm just like looking through the sheets. So we had a little Sherman. His little defensive dice.
There's some Panthers in there, and
you're trying to defend with a 6. You're never gonna.
There's a
your King Tiger rolls 4 dice, needing 4s.
Yeah,
to
right.
defend with.
So a King Tiger's gonna
infinitely stronger armor.
I imagine that roll is like ha 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 ha.
Yeah,
you Sherman, you're trying to kill me. You're dead.
So there's just some really cool stuff in here.
Yeah, there actually is a really a lot to like. I think I really enjoy the production value of these games.
Excellently made.
Yeah, we have not, going to be honest, we have not played a lot of lock and load publishing games. In fact, this is our first one. Yes. We have seen them. I know at Origins, I've stopped by. I talked to David Heath last year. We've looked at his stuff. It's been on our list. It's just, there's a lot of games out there. But I will say, value-wise, this game really comes in there. I feel like it's a great looking cover. I feel immersed in the theme. I honestly feel like this is 1944 Western Front.
And I love a good Western Front game.
Americans versus Germans.
Excellent Western friendly.
And I think it's really cool. These map cards are great. They are smaller. This is 11 by 17? Yeah, it's 11 by 17. There are 5 of these maps. And you can see, you simply add them. Some of the scenarios call for all 5.
And you stick them together. And then they have a winter side.
Yep, which is very cool. So I think from a production value, this game is really off the charts. Great counters. They are beautiful. Only complaint about the counters, a little small. I think the counters are big.
They have a lot of information.
Lots of information, and they're really written very small. I'm kind of old, and some of these are small. They could have just been a little bigger, but beautiful to look at. I think the rules are pretty, really, I think very playable while innovative. I like the defense die roll.
Yeah,
I like some of those items because, once again, if you're using an armored vehicle, it should get a chance at deflecting that. It's not an auto hit. I liked that element. Most of the units we used were pretty simple. But I get the tactical feel from this game because you're trying to figure out, okay, Alexander Stack here has an HQ with, what would you have, an anti-tank gun and an infantry unit. So I had to ask myself, how am I going to best attack that target? I never really got around to it. I got blitzed pretty badly. But I had to ask myself, what's going to work against that target? And I had to look at the values and kind of come up with that in my mind. And once again, that helps me understand a little bit better that tactical element of war. Trying to make sure that your arms are in the right place and you're using the correct weapons against whatever you're fighting. I like that element.
Yeah, and I think that this scale of game does that really well.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to get bogged down in too much of the nitty-gritty that you get in in some of the things in Combat Commander where you have to worry about the tiny micromanaging things.
Right.
You lose that, but you still keep.
I feel like you get the feel still.
You keep some of that tactical feel, even though it's platoon level, where you do have your different weapon types actually mean something and matter, and your unit types are very individual.
Mm-hmm.
But it's on a scale where you just lose some of the stuff that was a bit crunchy that you should worry about. It's a bit cleaner in that way. So I'm actually a big fan of this scale, and the system does that really well. So I'm very pleased with this game. It is a dice fest.
Yes.
Let's not pretend it's not.
We were rolling 3, 4, and 5 dice
your
pretty much all the
HQ
time.
gives you more dice to roll, so sometimes you're chucking 4 or 5 dice, and that's how combat's resolved. But you've got all your various different modifiers and different things in there. But that keeps the game fun, and the dice are going to be swingy at times, and that's just what it is. And
I don't mind swingy dice because I've always been a believer in my own power to control dice. And many times in tactical games, I've needed 1s or 2s, and you know what? I end up rolling them. I have some kind of mental capacity.
Yeah, I think this is what I roll, and the power of positive thinking
exactly
is
it
inverse
works
on me, so I roll terribly.
But I like dice rolling. I think it's although it can be very swingy, and this game does have some mitigation factors.
Yeah,
with that HQ adding, also distance will make your 2 hit numbers harder.
Plus
those things are good.
And all those defensive rolls you get from terrain and from armor as well. There's a lot to.
So it really evens out those swingy dice a little bit. But in the end, it's kind of a dice chucker. You're rolling 3 or 4 dice, and you're seeing if you can hit. But all war games are like that. Very, very few of them can get away from any type of random determination like rolling.
There'll always be
That's
something.
just the way it is. I think this game has a lot of possibility for future expansions, and there are other volumes, right? We had one called Desert, we've seen one, Desert Heat.
Desert Heat, and what's the other one? Stalin's Triumph.
So you're talking East Front, you're talking North Africa. I think this Nations at War system, and that's what this is. The core manual is the Nations at War system, and then you've got the module rules, which this is the module, White Star Rising, and then you've got the scenario rules themselves.
Yeah.
So each of these are going to have this base core rule book, and then they're going to have an additional set of rules for scenarios. So I think they can continue making these.
Yeah.
I like this. I think this is very enjoyable. What's something maybe you didn't like about it?
Some parts of the rule book just need to be
Edited,
combed over. Yeah, there's just some typos, and some of the paragraphs aren't formatted very well. Where there's too many words crammed in, so there's
Hard
no
to read,
spacing.
yeah.
And that's just some nitpicking of the editing, which when you're trying to read the paragraph, what was it? In one of the paragraphs,
It
in
left
the
off
line
the
of sight
U.
section, it was all the words were crushed together,
Right.
And so you had to do your own.
You had to kind of put your own spaces in.
But yeah,
That's a nitpicking thing. It just maybe they need to give another review of some of those. I don't know. Is there anything in the gameplay that you thought needed to be improved or worked on?
outside of what you mentioned, and that's the thing that we have is administrative counters. When they get too many, it's
Right.
possible that you can have a stack of like 10 counters.
Well, and that's what I was trying to show. If I had 2 units can stack in a hex, right?
Yeah, so you can have 2 combat units.
I could have a headquarters.
You can have an HQ. They could both be disrupted.
Yeah. So let's. I mean, I'm just going to throw.
And they're both ops complete.
I'm going to throw 2 disrupted markers. We're going to throw an ops complete.
There was some wire in the hex.
Yeah, I mean, my
and then
gosh,
someone had a target on them.
you could have this many counters in one hex, and that's a lot.
And that's 2 units.
Yeah, that's 2
And you got to
units.
find units.
I don't know. That's something I've always had a problem with, but I don't know how to get around that. I understand that's hard.
And that doesn't happen very often.
Whoa!
Typically, you'll get a stack with like
2 or 3.
Yeah, or like 6 at the most.
Like
You've
here's
got
one
2
that
units
has
in there.
have a disrupt and an ops complete, so it has 4. Not too bad. So I don't know. I don't know. Is there any way to overcome that? I just don't know that there's a way to overcome it. It's just
Probably
part
not.
of the game. I really enjoyed the gameplay, though. I think this is once again a game that I would play immediately again. Now that we're comfortable with the rules, I'd like to do a bigger scenario. Maybe tomorrow we can hook up with a bigger scenario. Try it out.
And I like that. And this, I don't know if this is particular to this kind
system.
of this edition.
Yeah.
If it's all the maps are fairly open. There's a lot of open space in them.
Right.
So you can move your full movement without having to get bogged
quickly
down. You're just driving around. There's a lot of open space to move and maneuver and get into range and things. I enjoyed that. I wasn't, constantly worrying about moving. Okay, this is 17 movement points to go here, and then I have to like jump off a cliff and go through a swamp. I could just drive my truck down the road. I've got some tanks over here. They can move. My movement was free and easy. And the game was just clean.
Yeah.
Moving was easy, fighting was easy. And that's what I want in a game like this. I want to get into it and get it done.
So we didn't encounter all the rules. I know we were reading through the rule book before we played. One of the rules that we kind of chuckled at was the overrun rule.
So great.
So because this is a combined arms, you're going to have tanks and you're going to have leg units. And one of the rules is if a tank can move into a unit, a soft target, or a leg unit, if they can move into that hex and have movement points remaining to exit that hex, they can do what's called an overrun attack.
Which is like a regular assault. And the
Triple.
assaults are brutal enough as they are.
But it's triple.
Triple.
So I think we calculated you're probably rolling 6 to 9 dice.
Yeah,
and it was hitting on 4s.
Crazy, yeah.
So I mean, you're going to be rolling... And once again, we chuckled not because it's funny, but because it's so brutal.
Yeah.
It would be absolutely brutal to run a tank into a squad of men standing in the open.
And if you're driving through, realistically, it would be
devastating
bloody and slaughter.
Yeah.
But in a game like this, where you're just simulating that with cardboard pieces, we always joke. We love to do assault combat.
We love
doing
it.
Close combat,
melee, close assault. We love it.
And so I just was reading the rule, and I was like, "This rule was made for us."
Yeah, right.
Just get in there and
feel like
just roll a ton of dice, and then the tank just drives off into the distance.
Yeah,
I thought that was really funny.
I just know with Combat Commander with 65. We did so many, and even old school tactical, so many assaults.
Just jumping in there.
It's almost like we're maneuvering, trying to get close enough so that we can do assaults. So I was glad to see that rule. I think that might be an option that we'll have to guard against. If we have leg units, heavy leg units versus a lot of tanks, we got to be careful. So anyway, lots of cool options that I think we need to explore. Overall, what are your final thoughts with this game?
I had a blast playing this game.
Yep.
I think it's well designed and it's extremely well executed.
Mm-hmm.
I think the production value in this game is immense. The box might seem small and unassuming, there's so much in here. And really, with the build your own armies and geomorphic maps,
so many options.
You've got almost infinite replayability in this game. Really.
For me, this is a game that I think thematically captures the scale, the platoon level. It feels tactical. It feels up close and personal, yet eliminates a lot of the rules that I think bog some tactical games down.
Yeah.
So I like this. I think it's very clean, very playable. I'm going to go out on a limb and say this is going to become one of our top 3 or 4 tactical
and it's
level
cool
games.
Because whilst it's not tactical,
Right, it feels tactical.
It gives you that feeling. I feel that way.
We have Heroes of the Pacific. We have Heroes of the Falklands. Those are tactical games.
Yeah.
They'll feel a little different, but this gets the same feel, yet it's enjoyable platoon level and ignores some of the stuff that might bog the game down. So I like that. I give this game a thumbs up. I want to play it again. In fact, I would hope tomorrow maybe we can chuck out a scenario before we start some other games. So that's our final thoughts here on, once again, White Star Rising, Nations at War 2nd Edition from Lock and Load Publishing. I'm Grant, this is Alexander from theplayersaid.com. If you like the video, go ahead and like it. If you enjoy our channel, go ahead and subscribe. Also look for a review of this game, potentially some AARs in the future at theplayersaid.com. Thanks for watching.